Last week, we talked about the gun lobby's opposition to so-called smart guns. These are guns that require either a fingerprint verification or that you wear a certain wristband and that the wristband be within a certain distance of the gun in order for it to be fired. And I got a ton of emails, some supportive of my view that the NRA and other gun lobby groups are completely incorrect to oppose smart guns. And then I got some other emails that disagreed with that. So some of the arguments against smart guns, to be honest, weren't very good. Some people said, well, if these guns become available at all, next thing you know, everybody will be forced into only owning smart guns. That doesn't really seem very likely to me. At the same time, I got an email from a police officer who said, I write to you from the perspective of a liberal who also supports gun rights. In reference to your story about smart gun technology, which has been attacked by some of the more traditional gun lobbies like the NRA and Gun Owners of America, I may be able to shed some light on the issue from a more grounded and level-headed point of view. As a police officer and gun owner myself, I would be weary of purchasing one of these firearms for my own use, either at work or home. Just from a Murphy's Law standpoint, I want few moving parts or other potential points of failure between me and my weapon. Quite often, my work takes me into dark, dirty, muddy, dusty, and wet environments. I've seen all kinds of equipment fail at inopportune times, and usually the fancy, shiny stuff is the first to go. The decision to use lethal force in an encounter is one that must oftentimes be made in fractions of a second, and any delay which could hamper my ability to effectively deploy a firearm in defense of myself, fellow officers, or the public could cost lives. So he goes on to talk more about smart gun technology, and he says it is a glimmer of common sense, but that he's skeptical carrying a gun daily and ready to employ it at a moment's notice. He wants to be able to not have anything that might impede that ability. I understand that. There's another argument which I received from Joe, and this is really, really good, which is catching up on the smart guns. Joe says, I'm not looking at this the right way at all. The reason that the NRA opposes this is not because they think it's a restriction of freedom, but because one of the ways that you sell more guns is by people believing that the world is more dangerous. And this smart gun technology actually would make the world a safer place, the country a safer place. And that would hurt gun sales because fewer people would buy guns if they didn't think they needed a gun to defend themselves. So that's actually really interesting, Lewis, which is the idea that smart gun technology might actually reduce crime and it might sell fewer guns if people realize they don't necessarily need a gun.
That's an interesting point. It's scary to think that the people at the NRA are actually considering that.
I do agree with some of what the police officer, who we're not identifying, says as well, which is Murphy's Law. If you have fewer parts that could break, that is going to lead to a more likely successful firing of the gun. I don't disagree with that. However, the strict and fervent, to use Lewis's new word, opposition to smart guns from groups like the NRA, since I know their number one priority is selling more guns regardless of the costs, of course I'm going to be skeptical about their position.
Indeed, and I'm going to agree with the police officer from his point of view. I certainly wouldn't want to take one of these out into the field or at work with you, but if you just keep it in your dresser at home, I don't think that it would be much of a problem there.
This program is supported directly by you. Please go to davidpakman.com/membership to become a supporter today and get a whole bunch of great member benefits while doing it.